And now I've got Bon Iver, which I already mentioned, but this is for Emma Forever Ago. I think that was his debut album that just sort of blew everyone away. We're nearly there, so thanks for persevering. I've got a couple of albums by, they're very lo-fi, Brian Jonestown Massacre, and I do recommend getting an album. I think this is probably the one to get. Yeah, there was a really nice song about David Bowie, and it's also got Straight Up and Down, which is the music that was used for the opening credits of Boardwalk Empire. So it's really interesting to sort of hear. I had the album before that came out, and I was like, Boardwalk Empire, what's that music? Oh, it's the Brian Jonestown Massacre. They were in competition with the Dandy Warhols. They were friends, and then they sort of fell out. And there's a good documentary called Dig, I believe, about their rivalry. And this guy, now I'm not going to remember his name, am I? And Anton A. Newcomb. Thank you. There's a quote from him on the back. Anton is, he'd call himself a genius, but he is very talented. They reference sort of Rolling Stones type, 70s era Rolling Stones sort of sound. They really went in deep on that. I think that's the main lead musician. Very mercurial character. If you watch the documentary Dig, it's really worth kind of seeing what he's like and how difficult he was to work with. And then the Dandy Warhols had their own sort of career trajectory, which became obviously much more popular than Brian Jonestown Massacre, but they're very talented. So I'm not saying it's a must-have, but I would definitely investigate them if you haven't heard of them. And then finally, for the bees, we've got Bright Eyes. This is a very hard album to... There is something... There. Oh, yeah, I think you're seeing it. Some flowers. This is great. And Digital Ash in a Digital Urn. I think the album that people sort of fell over themselves about was this one. I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning. And I think I did get this one first. And Bright Eyes, he was sort of touted as being like a new generation Bob Dylan, like in terms of his singer-songwriter chops. I mean, you've got a lot of people now who do their own music on YouTube and on various platforms, and they, play guitar in their rooms and stuff. And I think back in the day, if people sort of had that ability to really put together lyrics and just really nice stripped-back sound, some of these are quite lush, obviously, once it goes into a production studio and things get sort of added to it. But his storytelling and his lyrics are considered quite high caliber, and I'm just trying to think. I find it's interesting. It's quite quirky. It's another one of those sort of bands that you really should have it in your collection, but you've got to like it. I have only got 2 albums, but I've been interested in getting a third one. There's a new one out recently. It's got a really beautiful cover, and I'm just thinking of getting that one or having another listen to it. I listened to it and it sounded pretty good, but I do like to sort of check it out before I'm going to spend the money getting it. And the final one is Broken Bells, and this is sort of a side project for someone. I might try and ask my wife if she knows Broken Bells. Who was the guy?
Oh, can't remember.
No, okay.
No.
I can't remember, but I have an album or albums by the person who then did Broken Bells, and it's pretty upbeat. It's like Broken Social Scene. I'm not just saying that because it's got the word broken in it, but I'm just trying to think what band they're in that's bigger than Broken Bells, but they sort of went off and did this. I guess sometimes, musicians, they want to do something that the rest of the band doesn't want to do, and then they want to, get together with mates and other bands and put it together and create an album that's, I don't know if they put out another one, that sort of works for them. And Broken Bells, what's it called? I think it must just be self-titled. Broken Bells. I don't think it's got an actual title, but that's worth investigating. There may have been another album that's come out since by Broken Bells. An example of that, I haven't got it yet, but Bonnie Prince Billy worked with, and I've forgotten his name, somebody on Superwolf, and now they've come out with a second album called Super Wolves, and it took a while, but sometimes the collaboration goes so well that they decide to sort of work again together. Otherwise, it's just sometimes a one-off project, and maybe Broken Bells was a one-off. But it's a really good album. It's well worth investigating. So those are the Bs, quite a lot more than the As, and then I'll have a look at what comes after B, C. I'll look at the Cs. I knew that, of course. I'm just joking. I know my alphabet. And then we'll just keep going, and hopefully you'll get an overview of my collection, what I'm recommending, maybe how to form a collection that's across the board, because I've got genres from alternative indie, which is pretty big. It is the bulk of my collection is split between electronica, alternative, and jazz. And then I've got just about everything else in between. I don't go deep into heavy metal, so that's one genre. I don't have a lot of classical or opera. So once I get to those genres, in fact, I don't even know, AC/DC isn't really metal, it's hard rock, I know that. But, there's some things that I just wouldn't listen to death metal. I used to listen to Metallica. I still do have some AC/DC. I used to listen to Iron Maiden, which again, it's that sort of hair metal. I know that within the metal community, there's sort of like, real hardcore metal, the real stuff, the stuff that's just very technical. And then there's sort of like the big kind of bands that sort of, made it big in the 80s, like Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue, and they're sort of hair metal, really. They were sort of kind of a bit on the lighter side, more popular, of course, because they're more accessible. Metallica seemed to sort of go from the in competition with Megadeth, sort of loudness and guitar playing and speed and drumming and stuff, to being a bit more of a hard rock band and a bit more popular as they moved, But I don't have any Metallica now. I don't have a big metal collection at all. So that's probably the biggest gap. I hope that doesn't offend anybody. I mean, I think metal fans, I totally respect the music. I respect your interest in it. I've only just started here, and just see how I go. And feel free to comment below. Tell me what you think of the Bs in my alternative section, and give me some recommendations. I'm really, the way I built my music collection was talking with friends, reading reviews, having different age groups as well. So I had some older friends that were really schooling me on jazz and blues. Again, no one really in classical, so I never really knew what to get in terms of classical music. I have got a couple of albums that I've found I really enjoy, but I never liked the popular classical music, the sort of stuff that plays in cartoons. I sort of wanted something that sat outside that. But I certainly have built a very large jazz collection with some starting points that I sort of took some chances, but also got some advice, and I've sort of built that from there. And so you should be open to people's recommendations among friends, but also people like me. Go online, check reviews, and then investigate, and then commit. Please, I really think buying an album, actually owning whole albums, either in vinyl or CD format, I recommend CDs. Much easier to store, easier to play. I've already talked about in the first video. And then you're committing to something. You've actually got something tangible, and it's a private experience to put it on your player. We may talk about stereos and hi-fi and really what the outlay is to have a really good stereo system, but really I want to focus on the music for now. So thanks for watching again, and we'll see you soon.